Tonight, our discussion is going to be around circles of influence. And before we get to circles of influence, or we'll briefly chat about what they are, we're going to talk about what we need before we start establishing them. So, what are they? Well, why are they important and how do they work? Well, basically, what they are you determine if you imagine yourself here in the middle. And then this next ring out is your intimate partner. And then here might be children or close family members, and they keep going out and further and further. All right. The people closest to you in here should be the ones that have the most influence on your life. And they can only have that influence on your life if they meet the boundary conditions for being that close to you. And then as it moves further and further and further out, these people have less influence on your life. Now, I didn't understand this, all right? So quite often for me, it was the people who didn't deserve to have a lot of influence in my life who would. For example, someone could be mean to me in a shopping center, somebody I didn't know, or they could be rude to me in traffic, and I would be sweating on that and having feelings about that for 3 or 4 days. They're right out here. I don't even know them. Why are they having such a big influence on my life? And on the other hand, I could be really dismissive about the influence that people close to me had. So why are these rings important? Because they keep everything in perspective. They keep it real. And the way they work is that you establish these rings, which we will do later tonight, these circles. You decide what the boundary conditions are for each of these circles of influence. And when somebody doesn't meet those boundary conditions, the amount of influence you will allow them to have on you decreases until they're in a position where they do meet the boundary conditions. So for example, my beautiful partner is right in here in this next ring next to me. And he has a lot of influence in my life. But when he's being sulky or he's having an issue or it's his immaturity that's playing up, well, I don't push him away, but I don't let his behavior influence me very much in those moments. So his level of influence would be equivalent to someone out here somewhere until he's not feeling like that anymore. And then he has a much higher level of influence on me. So I'll still be pleasant to him. Of course, I'll still offer him a cup of tea. I'll still be empathetic. I just won't allow him to heavily impact and influence my life. So in a bit more here. So where to start? We need to start with authenticity. And I love this, the quality of being real or true. And this from Psychology Today. There appears to be an inverse correlation between one's sensitivity to what others think of them and the ability to be authentic. Authenticity requires a genuine sharing of our inner self, irrespective of the consequences. And I recognized for me that this is probably why I had my circles of influence so about face. I was so sensitive to what other people thought that I was completely closed off. I was completely all facade. And so because I felt that there was no substance, if I saw 2 people laughing down in front of the bus, I'd assume they were laughing about me. They didn't even know I existed, right? That was where I was at. And it requires, when we can be confident in sharing who we really are, then this just stops being a thing. So to create genuine, authentic connection, we need to show up authentically. Yeah, right? So often we start a relationship as our most unauthentic selves. And this could be at work. This could be, at the local football club. This could be with new friends. It could be anywhere. Where we put on airs and graces, we be who we think that they want us to be, and we hold our masks up. Core values that most healthy relationships need trust, respect, love, presence, connection, rely on a certain level of authenticity, a high level of authenticity, right? It's about showing the perceived good and bad that we all have and being okay. So this work here is essentially a quest to strip the layers of stories, wounds, and masks to become the more authentic version of you. Because you cannot build your circles of influence until that middle circle, that authentic you, until you are showing up as your true self. So here's some things I want you to consider. What does authenticity mean to me? Where am I demonstrating this with myself and others? Where am I not demonstrating this with myself and others? And what is it costing me? Here, now, what happens next? Then you create boundaries. So can you see, if you've got this circle here, you have to start with your authentic self. If this here in the center, which is just you are the only one inside your body, the only one inside your psyche, directing it and making decisions for you. You need to be the greatest influence in your life. Right here, you. Can you see? You need to be your authentic self in here before you start considering any of the other relationships in your life. And then here in this next ring is your intimate partner. And if you have no intimate partner, you leave that blank. Because in this space, that's the next level of influence here. Children should not influence you the way an intimate partner does. Friends should not influence you the way an intimate partner should. Not your ideal partner. Now, if you have a partner who is less than ideal, right, you still write, even if you don't have an intimate partner, you write all the conditions that somebody this close to you needs to meet before they can influence you at this level. So, for example, for me, some of the things that it is really important that somebody that close to me with that level of influence has in my life, that they are respectful, that they are loving, they are considerate, they are open, they are present, they are kind, right? And when all these things are being presented, then they are entitled to have the level of influence that somebody sitting that close to me can have. If, however, as I said earlier, Justy's having a bit of a bad day and he's cranky and he's snapping at me and I've not done anything, well, he's not meeting the conditions of somebody who should have that level of influence on me. So in those moments, even though I care about him a great deal, I don't care about him any less. I don't treat him unkindly, but what I do in terms of the level of influence allow him to have on my psyche, on my emotional and mental health, on my energy, the amount of influence he then has pulls all the way out here to someone that I don't know very well, don't like, because he doesn't deserve to be that close. He just doesn't deserve to be that close in that moment. And likewise, when I am having a moment and I'm not being kind and respectful and loving and generous, I don't deserve to have that level of influence on him unless I can meet these conditions. I don't deserve to be that close to him in terms of the amount of influence I exert in his life. Not in that moment. Does that make sense? And then after that, kids, family, work colleagues, and out and out and out, until you get right out here with these people you don't know or you don't like. It can keep going. The number of different rings is totally up to you. But as I said, someone out here I didn't know who was down the front of the bus laughing, I would allow, they should be right out here, like off the screen, I would allow to have them as much influence as somebody who is my intimate partner. Like, that is nuts. Why am I allowing that person to have any influence on my life? That was insane. So yeah, and then what I would really ask you to do is write down the values that you want from your intimate partner, and imagine writing it on the door of the circle. And they don't get to be in that circle unless they're displaying those values. So what I'd love you to do now is just spend a bit of time considering this first circle. You may need to consider your authentic self and how you want to show up for you, knowing that you are the only person who should be influencing your emotional state, your psyche, your mental health. And then the next person, that person who has that much influence in your life, what are the conditions that they need to meet in order to do that? Fantastic. So putting it into practice, all right? Once you've done it, basically stay connected to your values. And this here, what are they and how do you express them, right? Parenting your mind. How are your stories affecting your authenticity, and what is the cost of listening to your stories? How does it feel when you abandon your boundaries? Are you connecting for the right reasons? So what are your stories? What are your feelings? And is this the most loving thing I can do for myself right now and the other person? Is this coming from a place of love, not fear? Right? These are things I want you to take away and consider. And I'd love you to share in the Facebook group, all right? Because there's a lot of yummy stuff in here as well. This is how you put it into practice. Stay connected to your values, know what they are. Parent your mind. Recognize the stories and put them away. Parent your body. Parent it through the feelings. And come from a place of love. Because if you're coming from a place of love, it's always going to be okay.